Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's me, Malika Dickerson, again with the New Progressives. So as you see, it's a little different setup using my desktop computer, which is a lot older than the laptop that I usually use. So forgive me. My brother said as long as the information is useful, it doesn't matter. So I hope you'll bear with me. I have to do this during the day. And at a time when there are so many people unemployed, and for someone who lives client to client and project to project, it's actually kind of boring right now. So trust me, I am balancing a whole bunch of junk right now. But this, like we said, it's less than 3 weeks before this most important election of our lifetime. So first things first, my brother and I, okay, we were raised in a house where civic duty is your duty, okay? So we all vote. Me, my brother and sister, we vote. But this is the first election that I'm voting by mail, and so is my brother and my parents. We all vote in person on election day. So this pandemic is different, and I was hesitant, and so my sister and I, our plan was we requested an absentee ballot after the primaries, before the primaries, and then after the primaries. We still haven't gotten our ballots. Okay, so here's the thing: we live in Ohio, and so does our brother and our parents, and our brother and our parents have all gotten their ballots and turned them in and everything else. Now they live in a small town. We live in Columbus, the capital city. So, okay, trying to give a little leeway and not be totally paranoid about, okay, where is our freaking ballots now? So here's what we decided. We were going to fill them out and then drop them off at our polling location. And ours is our satellite location. So first of all, you don't have to go like downtown to the actual Board of Elections. Okay. We have a lot of different polling locations around. There are 88 different counties, polling locations in this state. So again, first of all, we're dealing with Franklin County here. So I'm going to show you what I had to do, because we're like, okay, we're not going to wait until next week to get our ballot and then mail it back. We were never going to mail it back, because before we even knew that there was something messed up with the mail because of the so-called Postmaster General DeJoy messing up the mail. Our nephew had a baby in May and moved here to Columbus. So my sister and I are his backup babysitter. So in July, we ordered a whole bunch of stuff for the baby, to be prepared to be babysitters. We haven't had a baby in the family in a long time. And so we ordered like 300. We're waiting for weeks from Amazon Prime to get our packages. So we noticed long before it became national news, like, what is happening with our mail? I mean, I used to see our mailman every day. He's fine, married. I'm no skeezer, but he's my daily eye candy, mine and a couple of my neighbors. So yeah, we started seeing them less and less and getting packages just weeks apart. So even before it became a national thing, they're like, what in the world is happening with the mail? So forgive us for being a little paranoid. Now things have been getting back on track. We've been getting things, on time, closer, more or less. But I'm not taking any chances with this. So we were like, when we get our ballots, we're just going to take them and then drop them off. We still haven't gotten them. I want to get my vote in and make sure it counts. So we decided we're going to go in person and vote. So my brother was like, people need to know about this, and this is important. Trump told people back in July or August, in North Carolina, vote twice. You can't vote twice. Okay, let's get this out of the way. But if you requested an absentee ballot like me and my sister did, and you're waiting, you've heard, oh, well, I got mine. I already voted. And you're like, well, where's my ballot? Okay, it might come later this week. It might come next week. If you're like me and don't want to take any chances, you can, even though you've requested an absentee ballot, go in and early vote in person. Here's the thing. Once you vote in person, your vote is cast. You're registered. Your vote is done. You don't have to do anything else. So if you vote in person and then your ballot comes in the mail a week later, write void across your ballot and then throw it away. If you send that ballot in on top of having voted, that's a felony. You've tried to vote twice, you're guilty of voter fraud. Don't do that. So either if you requested a mail-in ballot, I use a big monitor. So when I look this way, anyway, if you requested a mail-in ballot and you're waiting on it and you're not sure you want to wait until it gets to you or even mail it back if it's taken a couple weeks, because we have up until November 2nd. If you're requesting a mail-in ballot, you have up until November the 2nd to get it to the election office. So like I said, if you requested a mail-in ballot and you plan on using the mail-in ballot, which I don't recommend, we have drop boxes, but you know, they took our box back in August and it's been there for the better part of a decade. So I don't know where, what shenanigans are happening with the drop boxes. So take it to your polling place. So here's where I came, is I want to help y'all figure this out too, because again, this is new for me, early voting. So I'm gonna share my screen with you. I went ahead and did a bunch of looking up, and this is for Ohio. I will remind you. So let me share the screen. Here's the thing. I don't trust these people, okay? And Frank LaRose, I've always gone to the Clerk of Courts or the Ohio's, the state website. You know how long it took me to find this information? Trying to go through the state of Ohio's website, the Secretary of State. Let WOSU, you can see my URL is radio.wosu.org. I found the most complete information from our public service station. I left PBS. I'm a contributor. I'm not a freeloader. So go to wosu.org. That's my recommendation. And it spells out everything, not even just who how to vote and what to vote, but who to vote or what we're voting about. And I'm going to do another piece about that shortly. So it tells you about the drop boxes and everything else. Find a location of your Board of Elections here. Try that. It takes you to the state. Okay. And it'll in-person voting. So I went ahead and did all the trial and error for you. So let me show you what is. So here's what they say, in person. Okay. In the first 2 weeks, early voters can cast their ballots between 8 and 5. There is no early voting of the weekend. See, we were going to go on Saturday. There is no early voting on the weekends. Okay. So there's extended early hours later. But here are the only dates. Here are the dates right here on WSU.org. In October, you can vote this week and tomorrow. Then again, from the 19th to the 23rd, the 24th, 25th. So again, go here. There are only, 6. There are about 10, 12 more voting days. Listen, when I say that, you have 10 more voting days. So even though we're 3 weeks from an election, early in-person voting is limited based on the day and times. So go to wosu.org and look this up. Copy my URL right here. There's an Ohio voting guide, what you need to know about the 2020 election, okay? And make sure you know the times you can vote. And so we and our nephew, he's voting for the first time, hallelujah, in this election. So, and he's off during the weekday. So like we told him, go to your place. We figured the first day or two might be crowded. So we wanted to leave some space to help social distance a little bit more. But we're voting this week. We're voting tomorrow or on the 19th. So that's one. Know the dates and times. So then I'm like, okay, so where are the polling locations? Yeah, this is supposed to be a clickable interactive map. Yeah, it's not. This is your state website, okay? So I did this. Search for my polling location. It says unable, right? What in the hell? So, and I know, I've never not been registered. When I moved to California, the first thing I did, got my California driver's license and registered to vote. So for Franklin County, I already knew we have a polling election center right here, or Board of Elections office on Morris Road. It's not far from here. So you have the state of Ohio's office, franklincounty.ohio.gov. If you're a Columbusite, yeah, and anybody, I mean, they list, I mean, I don't know, let me make sure that they have all the counties. Well, for Franklin County, our website is kick-ass. Yeah, you'll find your election. So I had to go and make sure, Because I'm like, wait a minute, if you can't find my location, they couldn't find the location based on my address or my name. So through our county website, yes, I am registered. Like I know, here's where and this is a new polling location. We usually vote right across the street, but not this time, okay? So make note of that. Even if you plan on voting on election day, this is the first time in almost a decade that I have had to go to a different place to vote. That may be because of poor worker shortages or whatever. Either way, here's the thing, be informed. It's on us to be informed. So right here, if I wanted to go to the Morris Road location, it spells out on our county website the days and the times when we can go and vote. Shows you nominating ballot. It shows you the ballot, absentee ballot you can request, whatever. Anyway, you can look at all your elected officials here, right? And who we're voting for and all of that right here on this one website. But like I said, WSU has done a kick-ass job. I'm gonna get rid of that stupid thing. WSU, I love WSU because they're really still a public institution and service for all of us. And so, like it says, what if I change my mind about voting absentee? Here it is. You still can, just don't vote twice. Do you need your voter ID? You need some form of ID. It doesn't have to be a picture ID. Okay. So look right here. If you have a Miller ID, excuse me, or even if you have an excuse me, sorry, I need to eat. I burp when I need to eat. It's lunchtime. So you can take your driver's license, as long as you have a piece of mail that shows your current address, electric bill, whatever else, military ID, voter ID, utility, bank statement, government check, whatever, your paycheck, all those things. So again, but if you've moved and you haven't updated your address on your voter registration, you're going to have to fill out a provisional ballot. You may not have enough time right now. I would check. The deadline, I think you can still update. Check your registration. You all should have already done that. I mean, I think I did a piece about that back in June or July. You should already know whether or not you're registered and your address is correct. But if you're not, and if it's not, and you, oh shit, I forgot my address, you're going to have to fill out a provisional ballot. I talked about provisional ballots too. If somebody worked elections, your provisional ballot will be counted if necessary. It might not, though. All the ballots that were cast where they are supposed to be cast, that can be verified, but when your address doesn't match up, that gets put in a separate pile and is counted after election day. And we already know the Trump administration is trying to stop any votes, any ballots to come in after election day. So, like, according to our laws, you can actually submit your mail-in ballot on November 2nd. So yeah, if I mail it on November 2nd, the election is November 3rd, it might take about a week to get back. But as long as it's post-dated November 2nd, that vote still counts. They're trying to get it to stop. Well, if it comes in after November 3rd, well, you're shit out of luck. No, that's not how this works. Okay, so anyway, if you want to know more, because again, I'm about to end this piece and do another piece about this specifically. It's not just important to just vote. I know we keep saying vote, but who to vote for, knowing what we're actually dealing with here is equally important. So here's what we got right here. I wanted to make this clear. This is my brother, and then there's another thing my brother wanted to make sure to tell everybody, because when he got when you pay attention to the news, you've heard a bunch of shenanigans, like South Carolina, their Supreme Court sided with their Republican legislature. That they have typically, there's some kind of, you gotta have it witnessed. But in the pandemic, most states who said, well, if you're voting absentee, you gotta have a legitimate reason. You're too sick, you're disabled, whatever. Or you have to have a reason, or you have to have a witness sign off and say, oh yeah, this is their ballot, and yes, they filled it out themselves, this is theirs. Well, again, in the pandemic, you can't, to have somebody witness you sign your ballot, that means you got to get in contact. So we're trying to limit that. So most places have said, listen, you don't need an excuse. Besides, there's a pandemic, I'm mailing in my ballot. So my brother was like, okay. And in Pennsylvania, they have the secrecy sleeve. So they sign their ballot and then they put it inside of a secrecy sleeve. and sign the outside. Now they're discounting ballots in Pennsylvania if you haven't signed the outside sleeve, or if that outside signature doesn't match the signature on your ballot. I mean, shenanigans. So my brother, when he got his ballot, he's asking me like, well, there's no place for my signature. What's going on? And I'm like, again, I've never mailed a ballot here in Ohio, so, or ever, but I've been researching, and there's a tear off receipt for Ohio ballots. We're not, your ballot is attached to the receipt so that you know which one your numbers match, and that you can track your ballot here in Franklin County. So I asked him, was it perforated at the top? Could you tear it off? And he said yes. And so those numbers match. I'm like, that you don't need a signature. So don't get confused. I mean, because you're going to be hearing stuff like every state's election is run differently. So, and even here in Ohio, what I'm saying for Franklin County and our county website is different from Scioto County, you know, so and theirs website might not be as up to par as Franklin County's, and go back, and I left Columbus. So, you know, really take your time. I mean, I can't go individually through all 80 counties or whatever, but I mean, I just know these important things, the dates and times you can vote. Do not vote twice. If you're going to mail in your ballot, mail it in. But if you decide to vote early, which you can do, even if you've requested an absentee ballot and you're watching these people in the lines, you want to be part of this, and you're like, I don't want to wait, I want to get mine in now, go ahead and do that. Don't fill out your ballot when it comes, because it will still be mailed to you. Make sure you write void across it, just like a check that you don't use. Write void, because you don't want somebody picking it out of the trash or doing any kind of shenanigans with it. Okay, so make sure that ballot is void. You've already voted in person. All right, are we all up to speed? I hope so, because this is important, and I want to do my part. And Rachel chastised us. She's like, whatever you're doing right now is what you're doing now, and this is a historical moment. And I agree. And I love you, Rachel Maddow. Thank you so much for that. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope this isn't too fuzzy for you. We've got a lot to talk about. I've got a lot to do. So hang tight. Here's one in the bank.